Good morning. It is 8:36. Today is Wednesday, April 14th. It is the week of Easter Sunday. So many of you are celebrating this week with your families. I love that. I am alone this week, and I feel inspired to share some of my story. So, my family unit has pretty much been dissolved fully. Grandparents, aunts, sisters, everything is really spread out. Everybody is really consumed by trauma and pain and in their suffering right now. And they are absolutely entitled to it. But I made the choice for myself and my children that we were not going to partake in that anymore. And we were going to break free of this generational cycle of unworthiness and unhappiness and projecting that onto others. Okay? So, when I began my spiritual awakening, it was really during the pandemic. And I went through this full circle of emotions and behaviors, and it was really quite profound. If I had to do it again, I absolutely would. That's how profound it was. So, I've always been a very intuitive person, and this intuition has guided me. But there came a point in my adult life where I began manifesting things that I necessarily didn't want and didn't truly align with who I knew I was on a deep spiritual level. And so one of these things manifested as a partner who there were definitely some red flags in the beginning. But because of childhood trauma and neglect and secrecy, I was looking at these issues like, oh, these aren't as bad as other things I've gone through. And so these are manageable. But the truth is that when you make yourself small to accommodate people or places or things that don't quite fit, and you're excusing them to see things the way you want them to be or you think they can be, this doesn't work out the same as it does when we're doing it for ourselves, right? Or we're doing it in union with another person. Because the truth is each of us are going to truly be who we are. And we can't change others. And so, to get on a little bit more detail, my partner casually enjoyed beers after work. And it really wasn't a big deal. He was more bubbly, more personable. And so I didn't really see it as a bad thing. He was going to work every day. And the bills were able to be paid. And he was quite supportive of me wanting to be a stay-at-home mom. And so I was looking at these things like, oh, I'm so grateful that we at least just have these things. I've always wanted these things. But when the pandemic hit, things started to crumble a little bit, right? I got really comfortable and I thought, well, shit, the world is ending. I want to keep my kids safe and healthy. And I want to homeschool. And, people in my family were not on board with this. They were like, Jessica, you are not qualified. You already have no business being a stay-at-home mom. You need to work, work, work. Why aren't you going to school? And I was having little babies. I've got 3 kids under the age of 6 right now. And I was pregnant and nursing and homesteading and growing beautiful food to feed them. And we had chickens, and I loved canning and music. And so I wanted to expand on these things. And so I decided, I set my intent and I got clear on it and I began to execute it. And pretty quick, we were hemorrhaging money to buy the school supplies and buy the clothes and buy all these things and the extra food that we normally weren't purchasing because we had that support of the public school. Not with the clothes, but I stopped shopping secondhand during the pandemic, because it was extra work and we had coronavirus. And so I felt, if I can just spend this money, it'll lighten up the blow and we'll be doing a service to the public by not going out and me not taking 4 little kids out. So little by little, I started making changes in our family unit and being, more focused in on learning and fun and empathy with the kids than so much of a routine and getting them to fit in the way that I wanted them to behave and the academic scores that I wanted to be seeing them. All that fell away. We really moved into this place of exploration and self-development. And I really started to expand on my consciousness, and I really started to get excited and recognizing, wow, I've manifested living mortgage-free, and I have manifesting being a homesteader and having chickens and gardening and being a homeschool mom. And as my power grew, I noticed that my partner was really struggling, and I was finding beer cans hidden in his car, and I started to offer him the same support that I would a stranger. And I started communicating, and this was met with a lot of resistance by him, and he started calling me stupid, and he started to challenge me and gaslight me. And what I started seeing is that this person was actually a mirror of others in my past. And this person was only happy with me as long as I was living in the mold that they wanted me to be in. And this was a very submissive mold. This was keep everything picture perfect, house spotless, dinner on the table by the time he's home. He could walk in at 4:30, he could walk in at 7, but it was expected. And it was also expected that I did all of the chores and all of the care for the children. And that I was expected to not require support. And any bit of me asking for support and communicating that was met with actual emotional abuse. That there was something wrong with me, that I wasn't able to meet the needs of the entire family. And as my consciousness expanded, I recognized that this couldn't be further from the truth, and that as I expanded and as I grew, I actually needed more support, and I needed to be held in a more sacred way. And I was not supposed to be showing up as this perfectly healed person, but as this person who was allowed to be vulnerable and allowed to be raw and allowed to make mistakes. And I realized pretty quick that, that's how I was going to grow, and that anything that inhibited that growth needed to go. And so we had some pretty big stressors that came about, and they really forced me to have to make a decision. So, for example, on Christmas, we had an electrical fire that forced me out of my house, and the house didn't burn down, but it needed completely rewired. And it forced me into a situation where I had to rely on other people. And I needed to really carry my weight in that situation. And when you have a partner that doesn't support you in that, it's going to be really difficult to actually envision and know what the support you need feels like. And so for me, it took getting out of that relationship and investing money into private mentorship on multiple levels. Okay, so marketing, spiritual, emotional, physical. And the transformation doesn't happen overnight. It really takes consistency. It really takes believing in yourself and having someone that believes in you, that's showing up for themselves and showing up in big ways. And I'm a firm believer that two brokens do not make a whole. But when you find something and someone that resonates and they're a little bit further ahead of you on the path, it is absolutely essential that you follow down that path and you begin to do the work for yourself, okay? Success leaves little crumbs, and we can pick those up. And we can add those to our spiritual toolbox, and we can pull them out when we're feeling weak and we're feeling that we're not finding the answers, and, we're not having the resonation that we seek. You can pull these things out of your spiritual toolbox and lean on them. And so for me, having a mentor has absolutely been the difference of having that clarity, having that insight to keep going about my soul mission in a way that feels good to me and a way that aligns for me. And so it's really about trying different strategies and letting fall away what doesn't feel good. So, we can do hard things, you guys, and sometimes you just have to get creative. You just have to take that first step and take that blind leap of faith that you are going to be held and you are going to be supported, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment and everything's going to shit. Everything is breaking down around you and falling apart. Hold that space within yourself, because the second that you let the mind believe that you can't do something, all it's going to show you and all it's going to search for are the reasons why you can't, and the setbacks that are going to keep you from succeeding. So it's mind over matter in the beginning, and then you're going to see the matter start to shift, right? You're going to get invited to speak on podcasts. You're going to show up to in-person public speaking events. You're going to be booking those clients and having discovery calls that lead to paid in full clients in your community and your people that you serve. And it doesn't matter if you were a baker, if you were a massage therapist, if you're a Reiki master, tarot reader. You've got to get clear about it in yourself, and you've got to show up, okay? You can't keep letting others continue to take the power and make excuses for them, because you're going to be making those excuses for yourself. That's what it truly is you're making the excuse why you're not worthy of deserving what is already written in the clouds for you. So I hope that this gives inspiration to someone, and that you do not wait to make that move. You do not end up, homeless with nothing because you didn't listen to your gut. I want you to push through, and I want you to know that you are kick-ass and you've got this. You are absolutely an abundant, spiritual, multi-dimensional being, and you are capable of moving like plasma, okay? Shape-shifting, changing. You are not stuck. You are not broken. All right? You're just bent and you need a little bit of nurturing and molding. And that's where a mentor like me and others can come in seamlessly, making this process beautiful. And it's a very simple strategy, but it does take work and effort. So I say that all the time. Yes, it's simple. When I give you the strategies in that private container and you have that one-on-one, your mind is going to be blown at the strategy and how simple it is and how we complicate something so simple. So I absolutely adore you guys. I hope that you have an amazing week going forward. I hope that your guides are completely with you and holding you, and that this message finds you well. Namaste, and have a great week, you guys. Goodbye.